Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Avery, but I go by Soavecito, and I'm a horror content creator. Welcome to episode 19 of Whispers of Horror. We got the awesome Jitspoe. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk about the game Cook. How are we doing today? Did I pronounce that
Doing
right?
well.
I,
The game is pronounced Kook. Actually, it's
Cook.
like a crazy person, like a kooky.
Cook. Sorry,
You
I
know,
said
yeah.
Cook.
No,
My
no
bad.
worries. Lots of people say Cook. I mean, there's tons of words like book and cook that
All right.
have OK that are
Cook.
pronounced that way.
Okay. Cool. 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 No. Also, did I pronounce your name right? I apologize if I butchered it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Just
Jitspoe.
spell. Just spell. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Welcome to Whispers. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day just to be a part of this.
Yeah, no problem.
All
Glad to
right.
be here.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We're just gonna get start into it. Can you give us an overview of your horror game and what sets it apart from the horror titles on the market?
Yeah, sure. So Kook is a Lovecraftian themed horror game. It's very much inspired by retro FPS games like Quake.
Okay.
And so it's got kind of that retro vibe with very chunky pixelated textures and stuff, but it also brings in a lot of modern technology to kind of really up the atmosphere. Like we've got real-time lighting, but I've done some stuff with shaders to make that real-time lighting and shadows all operate on a per pixel value, so it looks like it's all like kind of pixel art authored perfectly to the scene. And I think it really kind of really adds immersion to the scene, as well as keeps that retro aesthetic. It's kind of um, like how we remember some of those old games looking, not how they actually look. So like sometimes you go back and play some of those old games and they
Hmm.
don't hold up as well as they did in your memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying to make it have that vibe, that kind of low poly, low resolution texture vibe, but
Okay.
also bring in some of the more modern stuff that we're used to, like real time lighting and whatnot, and really kind of sell the atmosphere of that while keeping that kind of retro vibe going on. And the overall theme of the game is, as if you're familiar with a somewhat more archaic word, kook is sort of madness. So it's like,
Like crazy.
Lovecraftian stuff has a lot to do with like madness and loss of sanity and craziness and stuff like that. And so the overall theme is like you're this like mad scientist or somebody who really didn't have that much sanity to begin with, and then when the ancient Lovecraftian monsters and stuff have returned to Earth, then like everyone else is losing their sanity and they don't know what to do that. But you're already in your element because you're already like crazy, and so it's more of an action horror game than a stealth horror game. So
Okay.
like I said, it's very Quake inspired. Lots of crazy weapons. More of a you know, creepy monsters are stuck in the room with you, not you're stuck in the room with creepy monsters kind of vibe.
Okay. That's cool.
So we've got really powerful weapons. You run around and shoot stuff and find creative ways to maneuver around the levels and such. But it definitely has some spooky elements in there. So it's more action oriented. It's not like you're helpless, running around hiding from the monsters. You're running around shooting the monsters, but there's still some things in there that'll probably creep you out a little bit or give you a little bit of a jump scare.
Awesome, awesome. I think so something you told me when we were talking that you live stream your development of the game. I
Hmm.
think that's unique. I think it gives a another perspective on game development, and I just wanted to ask like when did you start live streaming and how did you get into like showing people how you develop your game?
So I started live streaming back when I was working at Boss Key Productions,
Okay.
and I wasn't live streaming the development of the game, but when the alphas and betas started coming out for Lawbreakers, I really loved the game, and I was trying to do everything that I could to help promote it. So, I was like, oh well, I'll do some live streams, and people can join in and play with the developer and stuff like that. And so that's when I really got into Twitch and some of the other social medias because I've been sort of I don't know an internet hermit in some ways, avoiding the social media and the live streaming and stuff like that. But
Mm.
that's what really got me into it. And then when Bosky Productions shut down, because unfortunately Lawbreakers did not do the numbers that were necessary to keep the studio afloat, then I decided to go indie and just live stream the entire process. So I share the good, the bad, and the ugly of game development, at least where I can. There's a couple things here and there that I can't share, like Steam has some stuff on their back end that's NDA'd for whatever reason. I don't know, anybody can access it, but they still have NDAs on that for some
Yeah.
reason. So I can't show like 100% of the stuff, but I try to show as much as I can.
Awesome, awesome. Like I said, it's very unique to watch a game developer work on a game. Like you said, the bad, the good, and the ugly. Like, how does your community play a factor on some of the decisions that you're making when processing this game? Through the
Well, I think it's
process of
pretty
this game.
valuable.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's pretty valuable to have uh, community input as you're developing the game, because sometimes you can start working on something and it might not be the best that it can be. And if people give feedback there right away, it's a lot better to redirect at that point, as opposed to waiting until you get the Steam reviews, and then those negative Steam reviews, there's oftentimes no
They
undoing
hurt.
those.
Yeah, I guess.
So if people are giving feedback as I'm developing, then I think it's mutually beneficial, because they get their feedback heard, and it allows me to improve the game as well. But overall, the Twitch game dev community is very positive. There's not a whole lot of really harsh, critical or negative type things that people are saying in chat.
Okay. So I have a question from Phil. Tell us about the Steam cycle and book throwing. I'm scared to ask.
Oh,
I'm scared to ask.
so yeah, some of the features in the game are things that people have requested. I've sort of done a thing where I'll let my regulars request like one thing that they really want in the
Oh, that's
game.
cool.
And so Fublaz really wanted the ability to pick up books and throw them around. So I've got
Do they do
one of the
damage?
advantage. Yes, they do, absolutely. So
Okay.
there's books and various other objects that you can pick up, you can kick, you can throw, you can drop, and by nature of the systemic approach, you can drop kick them. So you can do crazy things, crazy combinations of things,
I think that's
and
pretty
it's
cool.
sort of, yeah, it's the the damage is based on the impact, like the actual impulse. I might have to tweak things a little bit. Like my thinking was, the harder and more directly you hit something, the more damage it's going to do. But it kind of feels like it's RNG at the moment, because sometimes you'll hit somebody and it'll hit them so hard they'll just explode, and then sometimes you'll glance something off the top of somebody's head and it'll just sort of not do much damage, and it's like, well, I hit him right in the face, that should do more damage. But it's all in development, and the Steam cycle is something that was requested by Gray Artificer, since it's the other aspect I forgot to mention of Kook is that it's sort of like a Victorian era steampunk themed game.
Okay.
So we've got lots of crazy, steam powered gadgets and just sort of like over the top weapons and such. So the Steam cycle is just a steam powered motorcycle that I'm working on at the moment. It's pretty wonky right now, but it's entertaining to work with.
I don't mean to compare your games to anything, but it gives me like a BioShock Infinite meets
Mm.
My Friendly Neighborhood meets Quake with Doom all put together, which is,
Yeah.
I guess that's why Cook is a good thing because it's like all over the place. Can I ask, like, how did you come up with just the cover, like, for like I saw, like, it says Cook with your eyes and like it's your face. Like, I think that's the art is just, I mean, that I get
Well,
it.
that is me.
Yeah, no, I know. It's
That
just
was kind of, I was intending to do something that was actually like more of a digital drawing or something like that,
okay.
but a lot of people seem to like the photograph of me just doing the kooky eyes. I got
And
um
I love it, by the way. I think it's unique.
thanks. Yeah, I just got some like steampunk goggles, and then did some touch ups and put some like K letters on each side, and uh, that's pretty much the logo right now.
All right,
I'll probably
perfect.
continue to do some touch ups and such to make it, a little sharper, cleaner, easier to read, and work better, kind of pixelated in the game.
I get that. I get that. I want to know a little bit about you, Jitspoe. Like, so when did you start like doing game development? Like what got you in, like what got you into deciding like, hey, I want to develop game. Did you like get out of the shower, or you in the shower? Like, did you wake up one day? Like, I'm just curious.
I think pretty much ever since I touched a computer, I've wanted to make games.
Oh,
So, back in my day, it was like basic games back on a 5 1/4 floppy disk on a
shout out to floppy
8086.
disks.
And so sometimes I go in there and like look, they were basic files, so you kind of look in there, and I didn't really know what I was doing at that point in time, but then I started getting into QBasic and modifying like the Gorillas game. I don't know if you ever played that one where
Yes.
you throw the exploding bananas. Um, and
I'm not as young as I
somebody,
look. I'm 30 years old. I'm about to be 30, so I definitely know what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, a friend of my dad's or something had like got like a QBasic compiler, so then I was able to like make actual executables from my basic files and stuff.
Nice, nice.
And so I started doing things with that, and then really got into sort of modding with a game called Stunts. It
Okay.
wasn't, I guess, modding per se. It was just making custom levels. Then really got into modding when Quake came out, and there was so many different things you could do with that. You could make levels, models, do programming in Quake C, all that kind of stuff, and then got into it even more with Quake 2. Did some like things like a paintball mod and some other stuff, and eventually got into the game dev industry and worked in AAA for about 10 years
Oh,
before I
nice.
came over and started doing my own indie thing.
When did you? So you said like you've been doing it for 10 years. Like, what made you want to like pivot from AAA games to becoming like an individual game developer and just making indie games?
Yeah, so the thing about AAA industry is
Oh shit! Here
you're
we
kind
go.
of a cog. You're kind of a cog
Let's
in
go.
a machine. Just the like, I think even best case, there's only so much creative control you can have when you've got over 100 people working on a project, right?
Yeah.
And in the situation I was in, it was like, we were on a lot of projects. We were like a satellite studio of another studio that was the lead studio of the project. So there would be like a designer at the lead studio that would tell their producer, and their producer would tell our producer, and our producer would tell our designer, and our designer would tell our
I'm already lost.
lead, and then I would get like a Jira ticket to do something that like didn't even really make sense. So there's just, it's like you either there's two ends of the spectrum. One is you don't have enough communication, and everyone's like doing their own thing, and the project doesn't have a clear direction. And we had one project that was kind of like that. Everyone's was trying to do their own thing. The leadership was not really clamping down and providing a clear direction on what the project should be. And so there's a lot of wasted time as everyone's kind of veering off and branching off into different ideas and such that weren't coherent. And then the other end of the spectrum is you have one person that's like dictating the entire game, and they've got a very clear vision, but then you've got a whole bunch of other people that have their own ideas, and they've just got to work along with that, even if they don't really see the vision the same way or agree with the vision. It's very unlikely that you get a whole bunch of creatives in a room and they're all going to be like, yeah, this is totally the way the whole project should go. We all agree. Like, everyone has different ideas. Some
Yeah.
people want to make it more hardcore, some people want to make it more casual.
It's like too many
And
cooks in the
there's
kitchen.
yeah. So either you've got a whole bunch of people wasting their time doing different things that are not the ideal vision of the game, and it's not moving forward because everyone's moving every different direction, or you've got a very clear direction, but then you have a whole bunch of unhappy creative people because that's not necessarily the direction they want the project to go in.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the other thing is you've got so many people working on the project that inevitably somebody's going to break the game, like, all the time, right? Because we would often joke that with as many people as we had on the project, if each person on the project only broke the build one time, like the entire year, that's enough times for it to be broken every day the entire year. So
Yeah. No.
and obviously people
totally
broke
get it.
things more often than that.
Nice, nice. Let me ask you. So, it's actually a two-part question. So, what are the hot like from working like with AAA companies, just the studios? Like, what were some of the highlights and being there and just working on those types of games? And what are some of the like the struggles and like the lowlights? And then the second part question is to that like being an indie game developer, what are the highlights and what are some of the lowlights?
I think one of the highlights is, at least for a lot of people, you can specialize. Like,
Okay.
if there's one thing that you really like doing, it's a lot easier to specialize in the AAA industry.
Okay.
In fact, that is often how things are structured. Like, if somebody is really good at one particular task, then it makes sense for them to be doing that task because that's what they're really good at. So if you're really good at doing AI programming, or if you're really good at modeling rocks or something like that, then that's probably what you're going to be doing for most of the project. Um, the That can be a pro and a con for someone like myself who likes to do lots of different things.
Hmm.
I would prefer to do more of the indie thing, which we'll get onto later, where you're
Sure.
doing all kinds of different stuff. But another benefit, it's not a 100% benefit, but job stability tends to be better in the AAA studios. Although we've been seeing so many massive layoffs this year that's not holding true so much anymore. But
Well, we'll
at
talk
least you're
about that
getting a
later.
paycheck.
Yeah, that's my
At least
that
you're
makes
getting
sense.
a paycheck, and you're making money. Whereas on the indie side, like, you could pour blood, sweat, and tears into a project for a decade and then put it out for sale and crickets, because there's just so much out there. It's really, really difficult to be seen.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, going on to the indie stuff, like I said, I tend to be a person that likes to do a bunch of different things.
Sure.
So again, that is a pro and a con. So if there's particular things you're not good at, oftentimes you just have to suck it up and do them, or those aspects of your game are not going to be as good, or you have to shell out the cash to pay somebody to do those things. So if you're like, really struggle with 2D art and you want to pay an artist to do all the art for your game, that can be really expensive, or you have to sit down and learn
Learn.
how to do 2D art, or you just have mediocre art 2D art in your game. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
but I like to learn and do a whole bunch of different things. So, doing music and sound design and level design and art and programming and all those different things. I don't necessarily care for the marketing side too much, but I'm figuring things out and learning.
Well, I think you're doing a great job at marketing. Like I said, it's unique that you're streaming the development of your game and just like I think that's unique from like I haven't really seen any developers, or maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. But you're like the first developer that I've talked to that live streams and gives like shows the struggles and some of the highlights, the lowlights, and I think that is a great marketing ploy too. Like I'm sure you do it because you like want to show the process, but you get to like people have a more deeper connection with you, but also are more in tune to the game. It's like, oh, I watched him make this part. I think that's truly amazing. I gotta say, I love your mustache. I can't stop staring at it. Like I know my parents told me to make eye contact, but I can't. Like, and you just got your facial hair. It makes me look like I can't even grow this. Like this is where my hair comes from. It's my head. But I have to ask, like, how long have you been growing your beard, and like, how do you get your mustache like that? And if I wanted to do that, how do I do that? Because like, maybe I should stop going to the like. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to say exactly how long I've been growing a mustache, because I had like like a goatee and
Hmm.
some shorter facial hair for a while, and then I really decided to kind of let everything go when we were working on I think it was Radical Heights, when I was
So wait,
like
hold on. So game development is the reason why you grew all the beard? Like you were nice and
well,
clean
well, I
shaven,
was planning to just
and
let
then all the
everything grow
stress.
out, and then as when the project released, then I would shave and cut and stuff.
Damn, how long has this
But
game been in development? No, I'm just kidding. Uh,
so it's been over 5 years that everything's been growing out.
okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so at least 5 years worth of growth there. And as for the mustache, it's kind of a three-step process. So first of all, it it is all everything is kind of like wild and crazy by default.
Mm-hmm.
So I go through with a straightening iron first, and so I straighten the beard out, straighten the mustache out, and then I put a little glue stick, not this particular brand, but just like a non-toxic Elmer's
Okay.
glue stick, and put that in there, and then take a curling iron and curl it up,
The,
and
the,
then the glue in the curling iron is what holds it in place because it's a wild beast without that. Some people get a natural handlebar and they can just put a little mustache wax in there or something like that, but I need to take more extreme measures to get this in place.
I, I'm just amazed. Like I really don't know what else to say about this. Like I think I'm just blown away that the dedication that you do for like it's your look, it's your identity. Like I like I said, this whole conversation I might be staring at your mustache. I don't know why, but like maybe I got a thing for mustaches. I think it looks awesome. It
Yeah, it
definitely
is.
fits you.
I am kind of using it as a brand. I
Yeah,
feel like as
I
an
fucking
indie
respect
dev, you got to have
it.
some kind of aesthetic, some kind of brand
Yeah, and I thought it
that
was
people
cool
will
tattooing
recognize
this
you.
on me.
Yeah, yeah. There's a number of things you can do. I'm rocking the mustache and kind of the long hair and stuff, at least for
Nice.
now.
Nice, nice. Like I said, I think it definitely fits you, and I respect it. Like just the dedication to do all of that, and I just wake up in bed, just rub my hair, and just like I'm good. That's what I do. But
Yeah,
I
it
want
can
to.
be time consuming.
I get it. I get it. I wanted to ask, when you're not game development, what are some of the things that you like to do outside of just like gaming? Do you like just, or it could just be like you like to play gaming when you're not game building?
Yeah, I feel like the trouble with being a game dev is it feels like you don't have much time to actually play games and do some other stuff. So I do play some games. I do kind of. I used to play paintball in real life, but
Oh.
since the pandemic and since our paintball team leader had another child, I haven't done that for a few years.
Hmm.
Um, but I try to get outside and at least take a walk every day
Okay.
and sometimes do some art. But yeah, it feels like once you're in the indie dev grind, the
You're in
hours
it.
just disappear. Even like I don't know. It's like even when I have free time and it's like I sit down, I touch the keyboard, and then 4 hours disappears. And I'm like, what even? What, I wasn't even doing anything. What happened? Where did the time go? How? I don't
Oh boy.
understand. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah, but that just shows you. I mean, you love it. Like that's the same thing with the game. Like just being a content creator, I'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna only spend an hour. My wife's like, okay, we're gonna go to the store and like 2 o'clock, 6 p.m. I'm just like, yo, what happened? I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get it. I was gonna like, you kind of answered my question because my other question I was gonna ask you like, how do you balance like your personal life with just like when it comes to your business life? Like for me, like I said, I have a daughter which she thank God went back to sleep, and if she woke up then I would have had to end this whole thing. But like having a wife who wants to do things and just like, and then just trying to make this my brand and just business, it's just like I don't know what, there's not enough time. 24 hours, whoever told you
Yeah.
24 hours is a lot of time is lying to you. Like you sleep, eat, and then like that's half the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so
Just got.
yeah, so how do you like again, like how do you deal with that, just like the struggles with just balancing both of that, and like what are some ways you can that you overcome it?
Well, I think the important thing is you set some boundaries for like these are the important things in my life that I need. I would say sleep is obviously one of them. You've got
I
family.
hope so.
Fortunately, I
Mhm.
don't. I don't want to say fortunately I don't, but time wise, not having additional humans to be responsible for is kind of nice. Um, and taking a walk, getting some exercise, things like that.
Mhm.
As soon as it gets to the point where I feel like, oh, I don't have time to
Eat.
get enough sleep or eat or go take a walk, then it's like, okay, now we got to start looking at things and scale back.
Okay.
So I have a pretty regular schedule with doing my live streams. So that's kind of like 5 to 6 hours of kind of dedicated development time, and then there's a lot of time that's just sort of nebulous, like checking emails and
Okay.
other stuff that I don't know, somehow tends to just vaporize the time available. But you know, and I'm also I gotta do the content creator stuff as well because like promoting my game and making videos and stuff are part of the package when it comes to being an indie dev these days. It's really hard to just make a game and then everyone knows about it and plays it. Like
No, I get
those,
it.
I feel like those kinds of days are over. So you got to spend a good amount of time, marketing and finding other ways to get visibility. And sometimes it may seem like a waste of time, but just like chatting with people on Twitter and things like that helps build up some visibility, get some followers, things like that. So
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of time just spent, messing around on social media and sometimes just posting silly things, but sometimes those things blow up and then you get a lot of additional followers and stuff like that.
Nice, nice. Um, this is the last question with regarding like just like the balance and stuff like that. But have you ever gotten to a point where you hit like streamer burnout or like game development burnout, where you just like I like you kind again you kind of answered it, but just wanted to see like if you had anything else to say towards that. Like, have you gotten to a point where you're just like, damn, I just don't feel like doing this today, but I know people want to come watch me stream, or damn, I just don't want to work on my game today. I just like I don't like, or like
Yeah.
you might want to call it quits just because some things might be too hard or something like that. You ever hit that like wall?
Yeah, fortunately I haven't I've gotten it to some degree, but I
Okay,
haven't gotten like the complete burnout package.
sure, that's good.
So
That's
I
good.
like I said, I try to scale things to avoid that. Um, so but there's definitely days where it's just like, ah, I don't really feel like doing it, but that's where I think doing the live streams is really advantageous to me. Like if I were just trying to do this on my own without the live streams, without the accountability, without the schedule, it's very easy, like I said, to just sit down and maybe you're going in with the best intentions, like I'm going to look up this tutorial on YouTube, and next thing 4 hours of cat videos later, you're like, oh crap, what happened? Uh,
I like the
so
cat videos too. TikTok is
yeah,
dangerous, man.
there's so many things that are designed to just absorb your attention these days, which is, you know, some of it is interesting and fun, and some of it is just sort of unfortunate. Um, but yeah, it's a delicate balance, and I think having the accountability, like I said, to stream, because sometimes I don't feel like it, and then I get in and I fire the stream up, and then it just kind of forces me to look at the project, and then I start doing a little bit something, and then I get in the groove again, and then I'm like, all right, here we go, and I get passionate about, like, once I'm in there, and once I'm kind of in that mode, um, then it's a lot easier to get going. And then there's some days where it's just like, I'm not necessarily enjoying it, but I'm just going through, and it's like, all right, well, let's just go through and,
That's part
get
of
to
the
the end of my
grind.
stream time, and then we'll wrap it up, and at least I made some progress.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not every day is fun, but hopefully every day at least is incrementally getting me toward the objective of releasing a game.
Nice, nice. I do want to get back a little into the game. I wanted to ask, like, how far in development are you? Are you, like the 50% mark, 60, 70, 80, 100, released tomorrow? No, I'm just kidding.
Probably around maybe the 20% mark.
Okay,
It's hard to say because it's like I've got a lot of content left to develop. I've gotten a lot of core stuff done. Um, but I was estimating maybe 3 years of development time on the
sure.
project, sort of minimum, and I'm about a year in, so probably a good 2 years left.
Okay.
But game dev, that might be like 5 years.
Nice,
it
nice,
always it
nice.
always takes longer than expected, but I think I'm going along decently on course for this project, so we'll see how that goes. And
Um,
then at least 90% of the way, and then I'll have to do the other 90% once I get to that.
Awesome, awesome. Listen, 20% is still a percentage. Some people are
Yeah.
just like, I've spent a year and I'm just only 5%, which I totally get it. Take as much time as you need. Like I'd rather have you have your product the way you envision it, which leads into my next question. Like, what do you when you finish the game, what do you want people to experience? Or what is your vision that you want people to see when they play it for the first time?
I mean, the biggest thing is fun, obviously. Like it's a game, so
Yeah.
I this like I said, it's an action horror game, so it's more for me. It's more about the fun and the mechanics and the moving around, and the horror aspect is more of the theme. It's kind of secondary,
Hmm.
but I think there's definitely some pretty strong elements of the game that will kind of spook people out. Um, so, a little bit of, I guess, excited terror and fun are what I'm aiming for with this project.
Nice.
But yeah, I really want people to enjoy playing with the mechanics of the game, seeing really interesting and creepy enemies and, just kind of soaking in the dark, spooky atmosphere, um, and just at the core of it, having a good time.
Perfect, perfect. I'm actually gonna switch scenes. I'm gonna play a trailer over and over and over again, but just so people can see like just some of the things that you have to look forward to. But also, while I'm switching scenes, I wanted to ask. You brought up horror. What are some horror elements that we should expect when it comes to this game?
So the biggest, I guess, influence would be like the Quake and Lovecraftian stuff. So there's that, and then there's also some non-Euclidean horror going on. So there's going to be a lot of kind of possibly unexpected mind-bending, gravity distortions and um, things that may not be like how you expect a traditional FPS to play. If you played a game called Prey, like I don't know if the new Prey has all this stuff, but the original Prey had a lot of portals and things where you'd like walk around on walls and stuff like that. So there's going to be some of that, a lot of MC Escher style things going on, um, and yeah, some Lovecraftian inspired beasts, and also just some completely unique monsters and creatures and things that hopefully have not been seen in other video games that
Nice.
might come
Uh,
as a surprise or delight or what have you, depending on your point of view.
Listen, I love me a good Lovecraftian monster, but how do you, when it comes to those kind of creatures, like how do you come up with something like some of them, like when you are developing this game, like do you just like have nightmares or do you look up online? Like, if you need some nightmare ones, I got some good ones for you, man.
Yeah, so I've got a variety of different inspirations that I use. So some of them come from Lovecraftian texts and also artist interpretations of Lovecraftian text. Some of it is it's maybe a bit of a controversial topic, but this was back in the early days of AI. When the image generation stuff first came out, and like it was not good. It would just generate basically Lovecraftian horrors.
Hmm.
So I think I typed in like Quake monster one time, and it created some freakish looking things, and it was kind of like looking at clouds because there would be just like disembodied parts floating around, and it's like, oh well, that could be like an arm or a leg, and that could be some horns and stuff like that.
Sure, sure.
um, and so I took some inspiration from that and kind of interpreted some of the crazy early crappy AI to design a couple monsters. And then as the AI stuff advanced and a lot of people were complaining about art theft and stuff, I was like, yeah, this isn't good. And so I actually contracted an artist to come up with some designs as well. So I've got concept artists that I used, and uh, obviously just other games and stuff in general.
Okay.
Not trying not to directly copy things, but taking inspiration from different aspects of games, and then just sort of kind of figuring out what monsters would fit the particular needs I have for a level design or what have you.
Nice, nice. I think I'm very excited to see when this game's fully developed and fully released and see what creatures you guys have come up with. I can't wait. Um, as far as just like you said, you're 20% done with the game. What is the number one thing that you're super excited about that you've completed? Or is that something that you can't talk about? You know, like I won't get upset.
Oh no, I can talk about whatever. I mean, I think the different gravity orientations that I've implemented is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Because I can basically seamlessly alter the character orientation, and another thing I think is pretty fun is the triple barrel shotgun, which like it took a while. I spent a long time trying to design this shotgun such that you could like it could be a pump action shotgun, but it would work with three barrels. And so there's this particular mechanic that I think is called an ALOFS
Hmm.
that you could use to modify an existing shotgun to make it have like a magazine. And I was like, well, if I did that, then I could like rotate the barrels to cycle, and then it would be have this thing on the side that would like put the new shell in, and then you could also fire all three barrels at once.
Nice. The
And so
shotgun is
that
really cool,
has
by the way.
thanks. Yeah, and then I mean, a lot of the weapons in Neural are really fun. I think the Time Vampire actually might be my favorite. That one
Oh.
was it fires spikes, so it's kind of inspired by. Did you ever play a game called Fear?
Of course,
Or is
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
I love
there.
fear.
You know the penetrator weapon in there where you
Yes,
could like spike enemies to the walls and stuff.
I see where you're
So it's
going with
inspired
that.
by that,
Okay.
but then the alt fire is it launches a projectile out and then it creates this time distortion bubble. And if anything goes into the time distortion bubble, it slows down. It slows down more the closer it is to the center. So basically, if there's like a group of enemies rushing at you, you can fire this time distortion bubble, slow them all down, take your time, and aim at each individual one. Fire the projectiles. The projectiles hit the bubble. They all slow down. The bubble dissipates. All the projectiles simultaneously hit the enemies, and they all get pinned up against the wall.
Oh, that's sick.
So
That's sick. I can't wait. That sounds awesome. I can't wait for
yeah,
that.
and then you can also jump on the spikes. Like you can put the spikes in the wall and create like a
Like a
staircase for
stairs?
yourself, and then jump up on the spikes and like get to
Okay.
secret areas and stuff like that. So the weapons also provide all kinds of mobility. Like the flamethrower has an alt fire that's kind of like a jet engine. It'll propel things forward, but it'll also push you back, and you can use it. You can like jump up and kind of thrust yourself up to higher platforms, or just push yourself horizontally and move faster,
So there's
things like
different
that.
ways you can get around. You're basically saying.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely move around. It's very
Nice.
Quake and Quake 2 inspired. So there's kind of the bunny hopping aspect where I took that and I tried to simplify it so you don't have to have years of experience, getting the perfect curvature and angle and mouse movement and stuff to jump. So basically, in Kook, when you jump, it gives you a small impulse, and then if you jump again, that impulse keeps compounding. So you basically keep jumping and you build up momentum, and you can keep going faster and faster like that.
That's
And then you
awesome.
combine that with the weapons, and you can like use the triple barrel shotgun to like maybe you hit a ramp and it gives you some upward velocity, and then you fire down with the triple barrel shotgun to give you an extra boost, and you get way up high on some building or something like that.
Listen, I love doing that. I love being able to like not take like the golden brick road. Just like I want to make my own path how to get around
Yeah.
and things. So I think that's pretty sick. I kind of want to go a little bit. So I want to ask two questions. How many weapons are going to be in the game, and then I'm trying. I literally forgot what it was. It just spaced my head. All right, answer that one, and it'll come back to me.
Yeah, so there's probably going to be around 10 weapons. Um, I've actually my challenge is actually trying to narrow down the number of weapons because I have so many different weapon ideas, and so I'm trying to kind of like merge different weapon ideas into like primary and alt fire. Um, so like I said, the time vampire combines the time distortion grenade element with the spike gun, and so they kind of pair together well so that you have time like you've got a high damage like projectile weapon, so it's nice to be able to slow down your targets, so you can kind of alt fire and then pick off your targets.
Hmm.
And then like the Quake had the shotgun and the super shotgun, so that's kind of merged into one weapon with my triple barrel. So you can fire it single barrel or triple barrel. Um, and then yeah, I got lots of different things going on. I've got like a 9-barreled rifle with bayonets, so it can do like melee and
I love all
a
this.
ranged weapon. So if you're picking off stuff at the distance and then some enemy comes up on top of you, you can just melee them and then shoot them point blank while they're skewered with the with the bayonets. Um, yeah, so that lots of ideas. I'm still trying to narrow down some of the later weapons,
Okay.
and also planning to do a grapple. I'm not sure if that's going to be its own thing or if it's going to be a weapon attachment type thing.
Oh, we get I love attachments. I remember my question. I know we brought up some of the other like gameplay mechanics. Is there any other mechanics that we should expect in Cook? I don't know why I have Cook in my head.
Yeah, no worries.
I
I was going to
apologize.
say it that way. It is an art like kind of an archaic word, which is kind of perfect because, like I said, it's set in the you know late 1800s, early 1900s.
I'm just gonna think cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cook.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I got it. We're not gonna forget.
So it's like, oh, that's perfect. It's like a nice short word. It's kind of like Doom or some of those other game names, and it's not really taken by any other game. So like I can just run with that, and it sort of fits the theme. But like I said, since it's kind of an archaic word, not so many people are familiar with it.
Somebody said,
But
"Can we cook in Cook?" No, oh my God, can we cook in Kook? That would be sick. You have to do that.
well, like I said, there is a flamethrower, so you can roast some enemies.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
I don't currently have a way to add spices or anything like that, but maybe if that's a feature that one of my regulars really really wants, we'll see about adding that in.
Listen, the enemies are spicy. They're doing some
Yeah,
terrible
yeah.
things. It's spices. You got a flamethrower. You call it a day.
But yeah, aside from the gameplay stuff, I think I'm hoping to push the steampunk aesthetic a little more. So I think the kind of the visuals and stuff will be, and like I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, kind of taking modern rendering tech and making it look retro, I think is going to make the game kind of unique because there's not a whole lot of games that do like lighting and shadows such that they uniformly light each pixel of the texture in the world. So a lot of games they'll have like the pixel art textures, but then they'll have kind of gradient lighting. And so what I'm doing is actually doing all of everything what I call per texel. So a texel is like a pixel of the texture, not like a pixel on the screen, but like if you walk up to a texture, a single pixel might be taking up multiple pixels on the screen. So that's kind of what a texel is, and that'll be uniformly filled, so it looks like it was sort of like the pixel art of that texture takes into account the world lighting. And I've actually got like self-shadowing and stuff, so if you've got like rivets or something sticking out of a texture and you've got light from the right, it's going to cast shadows to the left. Or if you've got light below it, it's going to cast shadows upward. So that element I think is going to kind of make it stand out aesthetically. And then I do like a paletted pass on top of everything after all the lighting and stuff is done, so then it has that like retro vibe, but it's done as kind of a post process. And I think it looks pretty good.
Nice.
In my opinion. I mean, if you, some people are not super fans of the retro aesthetic, but if you're a fan of like the Quake,
I'm big
like,
into
software
steampunk
look.
and Quake. So like like I said, I'm
So
very excited
yeah,
about
so this sounds like it's perfect for you then.
Oh, I'm gonna be streaming this game day one, which I'm hoping once it's fully released that you would be a part of it and having the game with playing the game and the developer talking about the game. That's some next level stuff. If you're down,
Yeah,
all right,
that'd be cool. We'll have to see, what things are like when release happens.
Okay, bet.
It might be pretty chaotic, so I don't know.
Oh no, listen,
we'll have time to do something like that, but that'd be cool.
Awesome. So atmosphere is a very big thing in just like video games in general. how many different areas do you expect to be in your game, and how does the atmosphere play a big factor into what you're building?
So it's hard to say exactly how many areas. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between smaller levels and more of them, or bigger levels and fewer of them. Um, so originally I was aiming for around like 40 levels, but that was kind of like Quake size levels. So
Okay.
I might scale that number down and scale the levels up a little bit. Um, or just due to time constraints, not be able to get all of my all the stuff done that I want to. But I think kind of what I'm planning to do theme wise is sort of progress the madness theme. So it's going to start off, and it's going to be kind of a steampunk London setting, and then as the game progresses, it's going to become less and less like sane and less grounded in reality, because
Okay.
you're going to start going through and you're going to have some of those like MC Escher style levels where you might run on the floor and then go through a portal, and then you're running on the wall, and then you go through another portal, and then you're running on the ceiling in the same area, and then you're dealing with all the enemies and stuff that are going on in there. And then I think toward the end it's going to be like you're going toward to the home planet of some of these like Lovecraftian creatures, and it's just like crazy weird organic style levels that are just sort of like completely like sort of mind bending and non-Euclidean. You're like walking around in circles, upside down and all over the place. But I also had to figure out how to balance that in such a way that it's not like completely disorienting and vomit inducing
I
for
was
the
gonna
player.
ask. That was my next question. I was like, "Am I gonna throw up playing this?" Like,
Yeah, so it's
that's
like,
another experience I've never experienced before. So, like, if that's your goal, I'm not mad about it. Like, I kind of want to see what happens. Like,
my
I'll get
goal
a
is to make every player that plays this game vomit.
who
Yeah,
needs a
no.
who needs a roller coaster? You just play,
Yeah.
you just play the game, man.
Uh, so I'm maybe if it's like more of a gradual thing, like you go in and the gravity starts distorting and twisting, and then like toward the end, it's super crazy. If people are eased into it, it may not be so bad, or maybe I just have like little elements of that, and there's like some short gameplay segments of that to just be like, yeah, this is crazy, and then we kind of go back to a little bit more normal, but things just look weird, so that people get kind of a taste for that, but it's not like overwhelming.
All right, perfect. Listen, like I said, if you want to make my copy, and that will make me vomit, like I said, I'm not gonna be upset. I'm not, because, like, again, like, that's some new level things that I haven't done on stream yet, and I might not get banned for it. So, like, just put it out there, wink, wink, just if you want to do that. Um, so sound design is, I mean, for me, I love, like, I think it just plays a factor in just like what kind of game you're building. Like, I know you said this is an action horror game, so how does this sound design play a factor into that?
I mean, yeah, sound design is huge. It's one of the things that I'm learning as an indie dev,
Okay.
and there's all kinds of fun things you can do, combining different animal sounds, or taking your own voice and making crazy stuff and pitching it down, or finding some plugins that allow you to kind of mix sounds in kind of unique ways. I
Wait,
actually
which
just
animals are
uploaded.
you combining? I gotta know. Like, am I so, like, I'm scared.
It depends. It depends on the creature. Like there's one creature that I have that has like a beak, and so but it's like a big creature. So then like I find like some bird sounds, some eagles or something like that, and pitch those way down,
Hmm.
and kind of morph them with some other sounds, so they have just kind of a kind of, or deep, like deeper, scarier things that's just like you hear it, and it's just like ooh, kind of gives you goosebumps.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I actually on my YouTube channel uploaded a video. I try to do little compilations of some highlights of my streams, and I just did one on how I did the cultist sound. So I voiced the cultist, but then I use this. I think it's called Morph or something Morph. There's a plugin that
Hmm.
lets you kind of mix sounds together, and then I can kind of give it like a deeper, raspier kind of um, tone by like mixing some kind of like gargling or whispering sounds or something with it to
Okay.
just kind of make it sound uncanny. Like it sounds like a human voice, but it also it like it's there's something went something happened to this cultist. They're like no longer like
Human.
human.
Gotcha. It's kind of cool that you can like what technology can do to a human voice. It's exciting and scary at the same time. Like
Yeah,
I'm excited to see like what kind of sounds you use when this game's fully released. I have a few more questions if you don't
sure.
mind. uh, if you say if I was a person that was interested in game development, what is some
Hmm.
advice that you would give to somebody who's inspiring to do this or wants to get into the thick of this? Like I'm fresh off the block, like I just said, I want to be a game developer. What are you telling me?
I think the biggest thing is just get in there and do it. Like a lot of people feel like they need to sit down and watch a bunch of tutorials and do a bunch of research. But I think the best way to learn is hands-on,
Okay.
and you just gotta make sure you set the scope reasonable. Don't try to jump in and make this massive MMORPG that can do everything. Start simple. Try to make like a breakout or pong game just to kind of get a feel for how things work and sort of understand how engines handle things and how you can do some physics and place objects around, stuff like that. Start really basic. um, Sometimes game jams are a good excuse to get in there and make something just in a short time frame. Maybe you'll get it done, maybe you won't, but you're at least going to learn some stuff in the process. And I think Godot is a pretty good uh, beginner friendly engine.
Okay.
So you can jump in there and start playing, playing around with things. But really, there's so many different engines and resources and videos available that there's not really an excuse to not just jump in and start doing some stuff aside from having time.
Awesome. Awesome. You know, it's crazy. Like I've talked to a handful of game developers, and you guys have the same answer, which is scary. It will I wouldn't say the same answer. I would say similar, and it's just like
Yeah.
like I do appreciate it because you guys are similarly think alike, and I think that's awesome because people who are inspired to be a game developer will hopefully hear this and just get the mindset of okay, like I know what to do, like start smart, just get into it, start small. Let me not try to make a triple A game right off the bat and just like learn, like it's all learning, trial and errors and everything like that. But finally, I want to ask, like, is there anything you want to talk about Kook? And anything you want to share with us that hasn't been released, or or anything you want to talk about in its final moments that we have on Whispers.
Well,
No pressure. The
before
floor is
before I
yours.
started the stream, somebody mentioned that I should mention Goop Loop as a horror game because it's a psychological horror game.
What is it called?
With Goop Loop,
Goop
it's
Loop.
it's. Are
Wait,
you
you got it.
familiar with Bennett Foddy style games like Getting Over It, where
Yes,
it's kind of
yes,
like
yes, yes,
physics
yes,
based and you're like,
yes.
yeah. Well, if you look at the tags on pretty much any one of those games,
I'm s-
they will have the psychological horror game or psychological horror tag. And so
Okay.
in order for Steam to recommend similar games and stuff, you have to go in and set tags that are similar to other games. And so I went in and set the psychological horror tag on Goop Loop, which is Goop Loop is actually a smaller game that I made as a game jam project and then extended and put out. That's the only like solo indie game, like commercial indie game that I've put out so far.
Okay.
Um, like I said, it was a smaller game, so I just put it up on Steam for like $4.
I'm
But
watching it right now. I put it on the stream.
oh, nice.
We had to see what it was. See, we can't let it slide and not talk and see it on the screen. So, Goop Loop.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's like a challenging physics-based game, and somebody said it did have literal jump scares because you've got like jumps coming up, and then you're scared of actually trying to make it past them or falling back down and losing
Hey,
a bunch
that's
of progress.
horror. That's horror.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the fear.
psychological horror. It's all happy and cheery. You got this happy little slimy goop trapped in a loop, and then you're going along, and then you fall down and lose a bunch of progress, and then it's like, oh no, it's
It's
terrifying.
it's funny what you can tag on Steam and just like, okay, now we're gonna put this in this category. I'm gonna have to check.
Yeah, yeah. I think the psychological horror tag has kind of been ruined from games like that because, a lot of people put it in there as jokes. These games that are definitely not like horror games, but there's aspects of them that make them really like challenging or whatever, and they're like, oh, this psychological horror is messing with my mind. It's so difficult or whatever. Um,
That's funny. I guess like what really classify horror? Like, there's just I guess everybody has a different perspective on what it is. Like, I guess I have one more question, but like, what do you
yeah, it's fine.
what do you classify as horror? Like, what is your definition of horror?
For me, I think it is things that evoke like fear and terror, like things that maybe not necessarily just terror, but also kind of like an uncanny feeling.
Okay.
Like, the vibes are off. You can have, kind of like backroom style, just sort of like uncanny um, liminal spaces and stuff like that, where it's just like it things, you know, things feel off. They put you on edge. I think
Okay.
that's kind of where horror comes in, where it's just like it's not an necessarily an active threat, you know, coming out to get you, but just the vibes, the atmosphere, and stuff that kind of make you feel on edge.
Okay.
And sometimes the best horror is the horror where nothing happens.
I
Like
hate those. It's the word.
like
Those
you
are the
go
worst.
through a hallway and it's just like you're waiting for it. It's a dark hallway. There's all kinds of crevices that things could jump out from, and you're walking through, you're waiting for it, and it's just like any second something's gonna happen, and then it never does. And
I,
then it's like you're just there's that tension the whole time, and sometimes that is like the best. I
I
mean, I
agree.
guess that's more like a true psychological horror, where you're
You
not.
think it is, but it's not. No, I
Yeah,
agree with
you're
you.
it's messing with your mind because you think there's something that's going to happen, and the game plays into that. I think the original Fear did a pretty good job of that because
Yes.
there'd be sections where it's like, all right, something's going to happen here, and then it's like that constant balance of keeping you off kilter as to when is something going to happen, and then like you when you're not expecting, you walk around the corner and then bam, something happens, and like finding that perfect balance of making the player not expecting, like if you have jump scares around every corner, then it becomes like an expected thing, and then you're just like,
Hmm.
all right, something's going to happen right here. But when it becomes unpredictable, and then it's like you don't know what's going to happen, the unexpected element really, I think, plays into at least the psychological horror.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate those types of games. There's a developer, I don't know if you know Tim Oxton, who made Silk Bulb Test and Flathead. He made when he was making Silk Bulb Test, he put one jump scare in the game, and it was very early. I had him on my show, actually last previously, and he told me he had one jump scare in it, and then the rest of the demo was no jump scares, and just the fear of expecting was made that hands down the scary one of the scariest games I've had that I played, just because I was expecting it the whole time. I'm like, give me
Hmm.
a jump scare, like let me get this feeling out of my body, but it never came. But you never knew what to expect, and I appreciate those types of games just because it's different. Like it's something that you expect. It's like expect the unexpected, even though the expected never comes.
Right.
So like I totally respect it. But listen, Jitspoe, thank you so much for being a part of this. I've enjoyed our conversations. Like I hope in the future we can collaborate again and you'll come back on Whispers. Everybody go wish list Kook. The game looks awesome. I can't wait till it comes out. And then Goop Loop. Like go buy some Goop Loop. Like there's nothing wrong. Like listen, it looks cool. I'm probably gonna buy it. I'm probably gonna play it. Yeah,
Nice.
go wish list the games and everything like that. The description, the game links, and Jitspo's link tree is in the descriptions. Go share some love to to the dev, and follow your boy on all platforms. Jitspo, is there anything last you want to say to the beautiful people that listen to Whispers?
uh Thanks for tuning in. It's a pleasure to be here. Like, I'm glad to have another opportunity to share info about the game and talk about games and things like that.
Awesome, awesome.
Not my best outro.
No, no, listen, I can't. While you listen to this outro, I promise you, I can't do an outro to save my life. My intro is okay, but the outro, terrible.
Here,
But
let's do this. This is my outro. See you later, guys. Bye bye.
I'm gonna just do like an Irish goodbye. Just turn off the stream. Just not say anything. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. We will have episode 20. I can't believe we were at 20. Tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So stay tuned. And I don't have a good outro, so I'm just gonna get off. Thank you for watching.